Welcome to Everyday Reviews. Today we're going to take the all-new Mazda, if you live in Canada, or Mazda in the US, CX-50 for a drive and share its capabilities with you. We've already done a full walk-around video already, so if you haven't watched that one, make sure to check it out. I'll leave a link below. Also, I just want to make a little correction. On that video, I mentioned that the new CX-50 is based on the CX-5, however, that is not totally correct, as the CX-5 has independent rear suspension, whereas the CX-50 has a torsion beam rear suspension. But don't worry, we're going to put it to the test either way. Let's talk about what is driving these CX-50s. Well, there's two power plants. It's the same as the CX-5. You have a 2.5 liter, 4-cylinder, naturally aspirated engine. It puts out 187 horsepower and 186 pound-feet of torque, and that's matched to a 6-speed transmission. Or you get the turbo model, and that is the dynamic pressure turbo, and that's a 2.5 liter. That puts out 256 horsepower if you use the premium gas. Without premium gas, it's a little bit less, but you get 320 pound-feet of torque. Once again, that is matched to a 6-speed automatic transmission. All CX-50s come standard with their SkyActiv all-wheel drive system, as well as GVC, which is their G vector control. I've tried to explain this on other videos, and it's kind of hard for me to explain because it's a system that is always working behind the scenes and you don't notice it, which is what it's meant to do. It's meant to just give you the smoothest drive, first of all, and just make everything work so much better. And once again, you just don't feel it. But your head's not bobbling a lot. You're not correcting a lot in the steering. So what happens is senses, if you give a little input of the steering, it measures your speed, it measures your angle, everything, and it will control the engine torque by sometimes just dropping that engine torque ever so slightly that you don't even notice. But what it does, it brings that front end down a little bit. It gives that front end a little bit more bite on your turn, and it's constantly correcting, which means that it just makes it so much smoother, and you have to do so fewer corrections with your steering wheel. And once again, you don't notice it. They've also worked on the power delivery. Sure, you can have all the power in the world, but it's the delivery that gives you the experience to make you feel more connected with the vehicle. So we are on a nice country road right now. We just did some passing, as you can hear there. And when I go and throttle in, it's very satisfying because there's a very, very little delay of what I'm doing with my foot and what's happening with the engine and the wheels. And when you put it all together, Mazda has just really dialed this in. They've just combined all the goodness of all those systems, steering, braking, the suspension, and the power delivery, and it feels like you're driving something very, very substantial. It doesn't feel super light, and it's not just the feeling of the steering. Sure, the steering has a heavier feel to it, which I like, but it's just the way that it handles when you're hitting bumps, when you're turning corners, if you're swerving, you feel very confident. If a vehicle's drive is one of your priorities, this CX-50 should be on the top of your list if you are in the market for a compact SUV. It really is the most satisfying to drive, the most engaging. For those wanting to save a little bit of money at the pumps, coming soon, they will have a CX-50 hybrid. So watch for that review coming up shortly. We have hooked this CX-50 up to a fairly large Airstream RV, especially large for this size of vehicle. Now, once you hook it up, you can access tow mode on the drive selection now. The biggest difference between this CX-50 and the CX-5 though, with the turbocharged 2.5 liter engine, This can tow up to 3,500 pounds, where the CX-5 or the 2.5 liter in the CX-50 is only rated for 2,000 pounds. So that's extra 1,500 pounds. This thing we're pulling weighs over 3,200 pounds right now. It's pretty impressive. So we're going through hills and corners. I like what the transmission's doing. I don't have to use the brakes a lot. It's using a lot of the transmission for braking. Power is still adequate. We're going up a grade right now. The G-Vector control also works in conjunction with the tow mode, and what it does is it maximizes not only traction but the handling of the vehicle. It's analyzing all your inputs, your cornering, your braking, and applying whatever it needs to do to smooth things out. And you'll notice when I'm going through the twisties, I'm barely applying any correction whatsoever, and it makes it really easy to tow, especially if you don't tow very often. It's actually very comforting. Along with the turbocharged engine, you got a lot of torque pulling, and the brakes are very, very adequate for this trailer. I really like how the transmission is so proactive, and I'm just braking like normal. We're heading up a mountain right now, and we're going to be going off the pavement or off-road. We're not doing 4x4, but we are going to test this off-road. All right, so we are going to switch it into off-road mode. Here we go. Oh, that's definitely different. It really changes the program a lot. So what it does, it senses what tires have the most traction and gives it more torque. The suspension-wise, this has been tuned different than the CX-5. I'm really impressed how this is handling a lot of these bumps and potholes. The suspension is just hooking up. We're not doing a lot of hopping at all. Remember when we mentioned at the beginning that the CX-50 has a torsion beam rear suspension? Well, I'm here to say that flying down these washboard roads, around corners, hitting huge bumps at probably higher speeds than I really should, the CX-50 handled great, and the rear felt nice and planted and provided a really confident feel to it. And the system just knows what gear to be in. It's not upshifting too soon. It's staying in the lower gears so you can create a nice smooth line. Turning sharp there. Climbing right now. We're going 700 meters up. Here's a sharp corner.
300 meters. Turn left on LQ Road.
There's our GPS telling us where to go, because we are off-road. This is fun. I used to dirt bike on these same
turn left on LQ Road
trails. Okay, it wants us to turn left. This is a road, I guess.
In 8 kilometers, turn right on LQ Road.
8 kilometers, wow. Good thing we have a spare tire just in case. The other thing the off-road mode does is if you are stopped, let's say in the middle of a hill, well, normally when you take off, you're gonna hit that throttle and there's a chance that you could start spinning. And spinning's not good because you can get stuck. So what this system does is it senses that, it raises the RPM up, so when you go to take off, it is definitely less abrupt, reducing the chances that you're going to just go and jerk the car forward and possibly spin. So the question is, which one do you get? Do you go for the CX-5 or the CX-50? All depends on your needs. First of all, that CX-5, it's a little bit more refined in the looks. It doesn't have that cladding. It's a little bit smaller, so it might be better for people that don't need the extra space and don't need the ruggedness that the CX-50 provides. And it's actually a little bit less money. Also, the CX-50 does not come in the signature trim. You know, that's the one where you get the open port wood and the Napa leather seats. But if you compare like the GT trim, the top of the line CX-50 compared to the top of the line CX-5, you're looking about a difference of about $3,000 more for the CX-50. So once again, if you don't need the extra capability and the extra room, you save yourself a little bit of money, go for that CX-5. But for me, I'm down for the CX-50 all day long. At the beginning, I said, hey, this vehicle could be a game changer in the segment, and I'm going to reaffirm that right now. This is really the one to beat. It's much more premium than a lot of the other offerings. It has such a better and more engaging drive. Mazdas have always been a driver's vehicle, and if you look at the lineup, other than the MX-5, which is one of the most fun vehicles to drive, period, regardless of if it's a Mazda or not, this is definitely my favorite product in the Mazda lineup now. Well, we have just finished up, and guess what it's doing? It's starting to rain. It's getting really dark too. Perfect timing. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video. As you can tell, I really enjoyed driving this vehicle. I had no expectations when I got in here first thing in the morning, and I'm very, very impressed with it. Leave a comment below. Let me know what you think though. Also, if you haven't subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button. Doesn't cost you anything. Really helps the channel out. Helps things like pay for gas for types of reviews like this. And our gas is so expensive now, so just hit that subscribe button. See you in the next review. Cheers.